Singapore has come a long way. It's the work of generations, each standing on the shoulders of the one which came before. And it started with one special generation, the pioneer generation. And one outstanding member of the pioneer generation was Encik Yusof Ishak, our first president. Encik Yusof showed that in Singapore, you can rise to the top if you work hard. He stood for enduring values that underpin Singapore's success: meritocracy, multiracialism, modernization. He was the president for all Singaporeans. So to mark SG50, as I said in my Malay speech, we'll be honoring Encik Yusof in 3 ways. We're naming the new mosque in Woodlands, Masjid Yusof Ishak. We're renaming the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies to ISIS, the Yusof Ishak Institute. And we are creating a Yusof Ishak Professorship in Social Sciences in NUS. Encik Yusof was not just a national leader, but he was also somebody you could get to know and get close to on a personal level. And I first met him when I was 7 years old. The family was on holiday up in Fraser's Hill at Singapore House, and Encik Yusof and his wife came up for a visit and brought toys for us children. And I think I still remember that he gave me a little model aeroplane which would fly powered by a rubber band. About 1959. I got to know the family better when he became Yang di-Pertuan Negara, when they stayed in the Istana grounds. And I used to play with his son, Imran. In fact, it was Imran who taught me how to ride a bicycle on his bike. So several years later, when I won the President's Scholarship, I was very honored to receive it from Encik Yusof. And we're very happy that Puan Nur Aisyah is here, and we're very happy that we have this opportunity to honor Encik Yusof for our 50th anniversary. We are grateful to pioneers like Encik Yusof who sacrificed to build Singapore. Last year, I promised to make a meaningful gesture to thank every member of the pioneer generation still living. I thought carefully about how we should do this and decided to focus on healthcare. So we designed the Pioneer Generation Package, or the PG package. And at Chinese New Year, we held a tribute party at the Istana. And recently, a fortnight ago, we had a Pioneer Generation card launch party at the People's Association headquarters. And I was very happy to see many old friends and colleagues. And I was inspired by those who came, like Dr. Umar Rajan, who helped start the school health program and produced the original version of the child's health booklet, which we still use today. I think nearly all of us here must have at least one of those booklets at home, some more than one generation's worth of booklets. Many other happy and heartwarming PG events all over Singapore. For example, these are the first organizing secretaries in the People's Association. They were the pioneer managers of our community centers in the 1960s. And the frontline soldiers They were frontline soldiers in the battle against communists and helped the government to win the people's support. And I'm happy there are a few of them here today, including my old friend, Chan Sek Sang. Welcome. The next group are the pioneer educators at MOE's Pioneer Tribute Dinner. They taught our children, they built up our education system, and this young lady is Mrs. Ambia Vaga. She's holding up a letter of thanks from an ex-student, and she's 100 years old this year. In Teck Ghee, for our National Day dinner, we invited 50 tables of Pioneer Generation residents. And this one is the Elvis group singing "It's Now or Never." I'm not going to sing this song, but you can see beside me my SGH radiographer, Mr. Ng Hon Wing, leading the charge, and they're all having a great time. So Tonight, besides my usual guests, I've invited 50 PG seniors to represent the 450,000 PG Singaporeans. So can I invite them, as well as all the other pioneers who are here tonight, please to stand up. 见过前辈请起立. Golongan perintis, silakan berdiri. Thank you for all that you have done for Singapore. Our pioneers were ordinary people who worked together to do extraordinary things. They overcame difficult and dangerous situations to build a sovereign, independent country. They transformed Singapore from third world to first, and they always looked to their future and strove to give their children better lives than themselves. And this is why we are commemorating SG50 next year, to celebrate the spirit of our pioneers and to commit ourselves to their enduring values as we make our way forward. I hope you'll pen your hopes for the future in the Wishing House at the SG50 booth later on. Singapore must always give our people full opportunities to achieve their potential. Our pioneers showed that we can do anything, provided we set our minds to it. And we must build on their legacy and continue to give every Singaporean the confidence to shoot for the stars. Education is an important part of this. And that's why every year I speak on different aspects of education. And this year I will focus on ITE and poly students. Our ITE and polys are world class. Foreign visitors are amazed by the facilities, better than many universities. Investors are impressed by the quality of the graduates, well-trained, can-do, productive. And our students themselves are great examples of resolve, strength, and character. People, for example, like Divesh Singaraju, who was diagnosed with lymphoma when he was 10. He recovered, led a normal life. He fell in love with aeroplanes after visiting the cockpit of a Silk Air aircraft. He qualified for JC, but decided to enroll in Singapore Polytechnic to pursue his passion for aeronautical engineering. Unfortunately, his cancer relapsed, which delayed his studies by a year. But he recovered, went back to school. This year, graduated top of his class. And while he was there, he co-founded YouthCom to help youths with cancer. He's going on to Imperial College to study aeronautical engineering on an SIA Cinder scholarship, and I wish him every success. Abu Bakar graduated from Singapore Poly, and then he joined Keppel Shipyard as an assistant safety officer. Now he's working in Nakhilat, Keppel Offshore and Marine, which is a joint venture shipyard Keppel did with a Qatar company in Qatar, specializing in solutions for gas carriers and offshore structures. I asked Bakar how long he'd been in Qatar. How long have you been there in Qatar?
I've been there close to 4 years.
What are you doing there? You're running the shipyard there.
Chief Executive Officer.
So you're running the operation, you're in full control, or you have to discuss with a Qatari co-CEO?
There's no co-CEO.
Did you expect to be running a shipyard in Qatar when you joined Keppel?
No, never.
So you went on training courses along the way?
Yes, Keppel gave me a lot of training. There's a lot of management courses, training that they give. Only in fact, recently I just went through the executive MBA.
With SMU?
Yeah.
So you did the EMBA, you've completed it already?
Yes, I completed last year. And it's quite a good program, good exposure, because I want to have a MBA that give Asian perspective. Because the program itself brought you to Wharton, to China, Beijing, to Hyderabad, and also, of course, Singapore.
You went into the program. Some of the other people on it must have already been graduates.
Yes, in fact, most of them.
So did you feel you were able to cope equal with them, or
No, at that
any difficulty because you've had so many years of experience?
yeah. I think quite easy because I think quite relevant to our job in EMBA. And in fact, to me, it was very timely because you have a new company to run. Because it's totally a new startup yard. You run there, you run a new business.
You were applying in your work what you were learning on the EMBA.
Yes, that's why I say quite timely because I use the course as a platform for me to discuss my problem.
You get free consultancy.
Yeah, they have 30 over people to consult. so it's very timely. Seriously, very timely because that's where you ask the lecturer with real life difficulty that you have, and I really appreciate that.
I'd like to make 2 points on Bakar. First, he didn't have a degree, he had a poly diploma. The EMBA needed a degree to start. So Keppel, Mr. Chu Jiaobing, wrote a letter to SMU vouching for Bakar's experience and capabilities, and Keppel accepted that and took him in, and he did well on the course. So the employer support is very important. Secondly, Bakar is a good NS man. I first met him when he was commissioned in the old Safti Parade Square 25 years ago on his commissioning parade. And I was very happy to discover on the day I interviewed him, that was the day he was being promoted full colonel NS, commanding an infantry brigade. So the CPF scheme is good, but it can be improved. It works well for most Singaporeans, but not quite for all, especially the lower income. And also, it's not quite flexible enough. And I think we can and should improve the scheme further. First of all, we should help the lower income Singaporeans. With a CPF and HDB, for the majority of the population, you can save enough for your retirement. But for a minority, 10, 20%, I think even if they're working, they may not accumulate enough CPF during their working lives. Some of them may not have bought an HDB flat. Some may have no family support to fall back on. And in their case, these individual efforts will not be enough. So the government and the society must help to do more, to help them in their retirement. So for this group, we should supplement their payouts from their own CPF savings with bonus payments from the government. Just the same way as we have workfare to supplement the wages of low-income workers. So we should have a new scheme for low-income elderly. Actually, they're just poor elderly because no more income, but they're poor, they're elderly, and we should call this scheme the Silver Support Scheme. What should the Silver Support Scheme do? We should pay a bonus every year, starting from the age of 65, something extra to help the old folks with their living expenses, with the cost of living. It comes from the government, not from their own savings. It's on top of all the other government support and community support which the old people already receive. And it's part of the new way forward that I spoke about last year. We are doing this, the government is helping this group of Singaporeans, but personal responsibility remains important, even while the community and the government plays a larger role. I'm not going into details today. We will announce the details at the budget next year. The second thing we should do with the CPF scheme is to increase flexibility, to make it more flexible. There are two views of the purpose of the CPF funds. One view is, I want to be assured of a steady stream of income in old age. But the other view is, I want a lump sum now because I need money urgently. Now, my view is that the core purpose of the CPF should still be to provide a steady stream of income in old age. But I appreciate why some CPF members want to take more money out, because they've been saving up over a lifetime of work. They want to use some of these savings. They want to do something they've long wanted to do. Some lifetime ambition. They may want to go on a journey. They may want to go on a Hajj. Or maybe they may have run into some family emergency and need money to deal with the emergency. So after considering this for a long time and discussing it with my colleagues, I've decided I will change my view, I will adjust the policy. And I think we should allow people the option to take out part of their CPF savings in a lump sum if they need to, but subject to some limits. The amount which you can take out cannot be excessive. For example, it can be up to 20% of the total that you have, and it should only be during retirement, 65 and beyond. Not suka-suka, anytime you feel you need money, you visit the HDB. He is not your money lender. This is for retirement. We provide this flexibility, but members must understand clearly the trade-off. Because if you take out the lump sum, that means you'll have less left in the CPF, and your monthly payments will also be less. So that's the second thing we should do, make the CPF more flexible. Have the possibility of a controlled lump sum withdrawal in retirement. But there's one more outstanding issue on the CPF, and that is how much should the MS be over the longer term. We have been adjusting the MS over the last 10 years, the minimum sum, because the old number was much too low. And gradually, over 10 years, we have been raising it to the current $155,000. And there's one final installment in this adjustment next year, and people have been asking Mom what that will be, and I will tell you that we will decide now that for next year, the number will be $161. For people who are turning 55 from the 1st of July next year. So it's 155 now, it'll go up a little bit, up to $161. But if you have the property pledge, you only need half of this, and that's $80,500. It's a necessary step, but it doesn't change the overall picture much. Next year, if I'm still a financial advisor and Mr. Tan's younger brother comes to me for advice, the sums will be more or less the same as for Mr. Tan. Beyond this, I don't see the need for any more major increases in the MS. But we will still need to adjust the MS from time to time because incomes will go up, so basic spending needs will increase. People are living longer, and we need to provide more money for a longer retirement. Therefore, we need to build more flexibility into the CPF system and give CPF members more choices. So there are some important, I've sketched a couple of key points, but there are few more important issues to consider. For example, how should we adjust the minimum sum beyond next year so that members can continue to get an adequate basic retirement payout? What should be the rules and the limits for taking out a lump sum? How can members have more flexibility to invest their CPF savings, to accept more risks in the hope of higher returns? And for members who prefer payouts to rise over time because we'd like to be able to cope with future rises in the cost of living, how can we offer members options to do that? Because there's a trade-off. There's a finite amount of money. If you want more later on in the later years, it means that you have to have less earlier on in the earlier years. And some may prefer to do that, some may prefer not to. So how can we offer members a good choice to do this? MOM has worked out some possibilities, but CPF changes are very complicated. So we're going to set up an advisory panel to study all this, and MOM will announce details about the panel soon. So the CPF and home ownership provide for our needs when we retire. They are good schemes. They work well for the majority of Singaporeans, but they are not one-size-fits-all policies. They offer different choices for people in different circumstances. But we are going to improve them further so that we can better support lower-income elderly who need more help, and we will make it more flexible so as to meet the needs of more Singaporeans and give you greater assurance and more options in retirement.